way at the beginning of January in the way that we have set out. But obviously we, like as you expected, the common sensical thing to do is to follow the path of the epidemic, and as we showed last Saturday, to keep things under constant review.
The government is currently drawing up plans to allow children with exams next summer to return to the classroom in January. Professor Lawrence Young, Professor of Virology at the University of Warwick, told you a staggered return may well be needed to bring the new strain under control.
Even though I know it's so difficult, I think we'll appreciate the problem with closing schools. I think we just have to delay or stagger return to schools whilst we get testing up and running properly. If this new variant is spreading more easily in children, then it may be that those children do not get sick, but they will be spreading the virus to the adult population. And we have to think very seriously about how we operate surveillance in those children, but also what that means for a more judicious approach to return to school.
Labour's Rachel Reeves told you a testing regime was needed for schools so they could fully reopen in January, otherwise it will be the poorest students who suffer most.
We want kids in the classroom. The government have made this commitment around testing. That'll make it a lot easier, and actually it will mean that kids can stay in the classroom, because what we're seeing is even now that the number of children, especially in secondary schools on a week-to-week basis, is starting to fall because the virus is on the rise again. And if we have testing, we can get kids back into the classroom quicker, and teachers as well. We know it is kids from poorer backgrounds who suffer most when schools are closed. So we really want to get that schools reopened.
Now, Home Secretary Priti Patel says she was confident the schools would be returning in January, but she couldn't guarantee to you, Nick, that all pupils would be back.
We are planning, as you have heard previously again, for testing in our schools. Some of that work was undertaken last week, before the end of term, because we are concerned, and rightly so, we're concerned about the health of children, and we also have seen strains of coronavirus within children as well. So my colleague Gavin Williamson in the Department of Education, we're working with schools to look at the plans for schools going back, but also ensuring that we have the protective and preventative measures in place, such as mass testing, to keep our children safe.
So how confident are you that they will have? So that's the importance of education.
So I'm confident schools will be returning in January.
All pupils.
No doubt about that. I can't tell you about I can't tell you about all pupils, because obviously, schools operate differently across the country with local education authorities. So, but the fact of the matter is, the government wants to keep schools open, and of course we will put measures in place, such as the testing of our pupils, children in our schools. Our priority is obviously to keep children and school teachers and staff safe.
No doubt about that, says the Home Secretary, concluding prior Theo Usherwood's report. Let's put that to Susan Mickey, who's Professor of Health Psychology and Director at the Centre for Behaviour Change at UCL, a part of the SAGE Committee, speaking personally today. Joins me now. Should there be, quote, doubt about that, Professor? Good morning.
Well, I think we need to achieve two things. One is to suppress the transmission and suppress the pandemic, and the other is to preserve children's education. How do we do that? We do it by ensuring that it's safe for children to go back to school, and that means being socially distanced. If this is more transmissible at school, when we already saw the chaos in the southeast before Christmas, with so many schools closed, so many children off school, we need to have 2 meters between children, we need to have decent ventilation, we need to have a staff pupil ratio so that children's hands can be properly sanitised, etc. So what that means is ensuring that all children at home have access to digital technology, and where they can't work from home because there's not a quiet space to do so, they should be allowed to come to school along with children of key workers and vulnerable children. And those who are being taught at school need to be taught well. That requires having more teachers than we have at the moment. And many teachers who have taken early retirement could be brought back, just in the way as doctors were brought back in their thousands at the beginning of the pandemic, and this would enable that to happen, but the government needs to move very quickly on it.
But Professor, will they necessarily be up to speed with how the curriculum might have changed?
It won't be perfect, but we're talking talking about a very imperfect situation. We're talking about a situation where
It might be wrong.
20% of children were out of school.
Of course it's going to
not
be
being
fucking
taught well.
wrong.
So what we're talking about is not just the Prime Minister's on your show just now said following the epidemic. No, we don't want, as the Home Secretary, we don't want to follow the epidemic. We want to predict it in advance and think in advance strategically, not always be on the back foot
strategically,
and reacting at the last minute.
Oh my goodness.
Grateful for your time.
That's okay then.
Reasons. Thank you, Susan Mickey, a Professor of Health Psychology, Director of the Centre for Behaviour Change at UCL, and you sit on the SAGE Committee while calling all former teachers. Are you ready to do your bit for the country in return? Let's ask someone who's
they're fucking
right at the heart of the profession right now. Jane Prescott is Headmistress at Portsmouth High School and President of the Girls' School Association. No doubt about it, says the Home Secretary, Jane Prescott. Is she right? Good morning.
Yes, well, I think we all want to keep schools open if we can. That's the view of the government, that's the view of most schools or all schools. To do it safely. And if the science is saying that schools returning early in January is not a good idea, then we have to switch to guided home learning. If by keeping secondary schools on guided home learning safe, the epidemic repressed, then that might keep primary schools open, and that is also very, very important. They're not so easy to educate small children remotely.
How prepared are you and your colleagues for testing regime as of January?
Well, not really, because it's very difficult to establish over a national holiday period where they have held trials and pilots. They've drafted in reservists and people like that. We're not able to do that. So I would ask, we're for mass testing. It's not that we're against it. We're working with the government on this, but we need more time.
Yes, so it's not going to be able to be there the first day of the return to term, is it, next month?
No, it won't be. So therefore we're asking for a little bit of time to be able to get that organised, because it is possible to get it organised. And as I say, it's not that we're against it, because this is probably the way forward, that and the vaccine. Obviously we wouldn't want the vaccine in advance of people who are vulnerably clinically need the vaccine, but perhaps school children, teachers ought to be next in the queue in order to keep teachers teaching and children in school.
What about the idea, and you may well have suffered shortages yourself from teachers who've had to isolate, the idea of asking retired teachers to return?
I think that's quite tricky. We're supposed to carry out all sorts of security tests before people come and work in our schools, like DBS, which very probably has expired. As you brought out yourself, the curriculum has changed, so are they really is a profession, and these people are trained teachers. So I think that's quite difficult, and I'm not sure that many retired teachers would want to come back.
The effort they've had to put in, you can hardly blame them. Jane Prescott, thank you. You're the Headmistress at Portsmouth High School. You're President of the Girls' School Association. Thank you for your input. If you are a retired teacher, or your husband, wife, whatever is a retired teacher, what about the opportunity to go? Obviously they're going to get paid, they're not just going to go back to the love of it. Do you think that would appeal? We'll talk to you more about that after this. The 8:16 LBC News headlines are with Holly Jones.
The Home Secretary's told LBC the government is working to try to get the border with France open again after lorries spent another night in their vehicles in Kent. There are warnings small parts of England could face lockdown coronavirus restrictions following the new strain discovered in the UK. Figures show government borrowing hit a record £31.6 billion in November to support the economy during the pandemic. The weather, rain in southern England, Wales and northern and western Scotland. Colder in northern parts, a high of 13 degrees. LBC Travel, I'm Joanne Webb. The M20 in Kent remains closed eastbound from junction 7 at Maidstone to 12 at the Ashford Road because of Operation Brock and because of Operation Stag. Now in Cumbria, one lane's had to be closed on the M6 northbound just after junction 44 at Carlisle North, and that's because a car's broken down. And on Merseyside, the A562 Speak Road is closed both ways at Widnes, and that's after an accident. And these problems on the underground do continue. It's all after a fire alert. The Circle and Hammersmith and City lines aren't running at all.
It's all Sadiq Khan's fault. Everything.
Severe delays on the District Line and minor delays on the Central. And also problems on London Overground services not running to and from Stratford to Clapham Junction and Richmond.
This is LBC.
Tesco Mobile brings you the powerful iPhone SE this Christmas. And now AirPods are included too.
Wow.
The perfect combination, all for just $19.99 a month. That's our lowest ever price. Search Tesco Mobile. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Ends 29th of December, subject to availability while stocks last. 36-month credit and rolling monthly use agreements with Tesco Mobile required, subject to status, terms
You
apply.
work out how much you're paying for 3 years on
Nick
that.
Ferrari now. 0345 6060 973 LBC.
It's freezing out there, but don't get caught out in the cold. It's time to get winter ready with Halls. Gentle soothing with Halls Soothers and clearing mental action with Halls Mentholyptus will help you to get on and enjoy your day. Help is at hand this winter with Halls.
Hi! Just dropped off a few presents for the kids.
A few? It's doorbell season, so get ready for all the festive deliveries coming your way with a Ring Video Doorbell.
Delivery. Got a big one today.
Oh, great. Can you leave it round the back, please?
Ring lets you see, hear and speak to whoever's at your door from anywhere, right from your phone.
Hey, we just bought you a few things.
Be there for every moment with a Ring Video Doorbell. For great festive savings on selected devices, go to ring.com and major retailers today.
Ah, the great British roast. When mobiles are set aside, the TV goes off, the family comes together, and everything stops. For the perfect roast, only Bisto Best Gravy will do. Made with real meat juices for that authentic, rich roasted flavour. Ah, Bisto.
Hi there, Mrs. Claus here. If I were you, I'd check out the brilliant Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 Plus 5G, which you can claim up to £120 cashback on. Plus, get a £30 cashback boost. Offering. Honestly, he's not as organised as a drawer of odd socks.
Coming dear.
Make their year with Galaxy This. Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 Plus 5G with Google Apps from participating retailers or Samsung.com now. Purchased by the 25th of December 2020. Claim from Samsung within 30 days of purchase. Only one cashback boost of £30 may be claimed. T&Cs apply. Google is a trademark of Google LLC.
Mercedes-Benz may have to pay thousands of pounds to drivers after they allegedly installed defeat devices to pass vehicle emissions tests. Did you purchase or lease a Mercedes diesel vehicle made between 2009 and 2008?
Yes, I did actually.
Compensation,
I bought
even if you
7.
no longer own or lease the car. To find out if you qualify and join the claim, visit mercedesemissionsclaim.co.uk or text JOIN to 85222.
No, thank you. I can't be bothered.
It could be your neighbour with the biggest decorations. It could be your boss who's the best at Secret Santa. It could be your friend who loves the cracker jokes. And this Christmas, it could be you. This Wednesday, the £15 million Lotto jackpot must be won, or thousands of you will win a share of the jackpot. Play online or on the app. Lotto from the National Lottery. Your numbers make amazing happen. Account terms, rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
At Morrison's this Christmas, our fresh whole British turkeys are only £3 a kilo, and our British turkey crowns are £7 a kilo. Morrison's, baking Christmas special. Majority of stores and online, subject to availability. Offer ends 24th of December 2020.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
8:21. Rob will talk schools with you in a moment. A couple of emails to start our conversation. This from Andy Perkins. If you test the kids in school and they're found positive, it's too late. The virus is obviously in the home, which would mean the parents have got it. Phil in Rickmansworth says there's a secondary school close to us. The children do not social distance, walking to and from school. They also gather in groups around local shops. Well, children will be children. Rob in Manchester, do you think we should open those schools again next month? Good morning.
Yes, good morning. I think the schools should open. Children's education is important.
I agree with that.
But I think if you're going to put anywhere down, you actually should be looking at places like the universities and the halls of residence.
Right.
I mean,
why?
Well, I can remember in the past many times where there's been outbreaks at many giants. This is, of course, before COVID-19. Do you look at them? I don't know. But
those teenagers and people in their early 20s are effectively self-contained, if you will. They go to their universities and then they live in their halls or they live in their flats or whatever. These kids are, teenage children at least, are getting on the bus, are getting on the train, are going into the shops, are going home, are seeing grandma and granddad, and they're not up in York or wherever they are in university. I think if anything, it's the other way around, isn't it, Rob?
Maybe. I just would like to say, certainly, I don't think closing the schools down is going to do anything. I mean, what harm is it doing to children and their education?
Well, no, but they're spreading. It would appear that, it's not confirmed, this new variant is spread very quickly and virulently by teenagers for whatever reason. In which case, I think, and you know, I'm with you, Rob. It would be with a very heavy heart, and I've said so many times, the children who need it most will suffer the most. And they won't have laptops, or in laptops, they won't have laptops, but I just think it does need to be on the table. Rob, thank you for your view. It's what it's all about. We share views. Let's get Ian in Stoke. Where are you on the scene? It's a very tricky one, isn't it? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. It is a very tricky one, but I'm chair of governors of a school that I will not mention, obviously, for the appropriate reasons.
Okay.
But I, you know, let me caveat it by saying that staff have had a very difficult few months behind them, etc. But we've managed to keep our students in school all the way through the autumn term. We've had 1 year that were out for just 1 week, and that was because we didn't have enough staff, nothing to the students.
Right.
And we've managed to keep our student COVID numbers to around about a dozen.
Wow.
Now, bear in mind we're a secondary school, but we've got protocols in place.
Roughly your head count of pupils, just roughly.
Round about 850, 900.
Okay, yeah, on you go, sir. Thank you. That's very good.
Kept it down to about a dozen, but the protocols were put in place, which have been applauded